Did you know that planting just 1 week too early or too late can cut your harvest in half? If you're in Zone 6A, this video will show you the perfect timing to grow your biggest harvest ever. Hey everyone! If you're gardening in Zone 6A, you already know how tricky it can be to figure out the best time to plant. One wrong move, and your entire season could be thrown off. But don't worry, I've got you covered. In this video, I'll walk you through the exact planting calendar for Zone 6A so you can maximize your garden's potential and grow your biggest harvest yet. Here's what we'll cover first. We'll dive into the spring planting schedule, including the best crops to start early. Then, we'll move on to summer planting tips to keep your garden thriving in the heat. After that, I'll share the secrets to a successful fall harvest. And finally, I'll give you some pro tips to keep your garden productive all year round. Let's get started. Spring is the most exciting time for gardeners, but did you know that planting too early can ruin your entire season? Let me show you the perfect spring schedule for Zone 6A. Early spring planting. Let's start with early spring. This is the time to plant cold, hardy crops that can handle a little frost. Think peas, spinach, and lettuce. These plants thrive in cooler weather and will give you a head start on your harvest. But here's the key. You need to wait until the soil temperature is at least 40 degrees Fahrenheit. If you plant too early, the seeds won't germinate, and you'll just be wasting your time. A simple soil thermometer can save you a lot of frustration. Mid-spring planting. Once we move into mid-spring, it's time to plant crops like carrots, beets, and radishes. These veggies need slightly warmer soil around 50 degrees Fahrenheit to really take off. And here's a pro tip: try companion planting. For example, plant radishes next to your carrots. Radishes grow quickly and help break up the soil, making it easier for your carrots to grow long and straight. Plus, you'll get 2 crops in the same space. Late spring transition. Now, as we get closer to late spring, it's time to start thinking about warm weather crops like tomatoes and peppers. But don't rush it. These plants are super sensitive to cold, so you'll want to wait until after the last frost date. For Zone 6A, that's usually around mid-May. And here's another tip: before you plant them outside, make sure to harden them off. That means gradually getting them used to the outdoors by placing them outside for a few hours each day. This will help prevent shock and give your plants a stronger start. Spring recap and transition. Start with cold, hardy crops in early spring, move on to root veggies in mid-spring, and transition to warm weather crops in late spring. Stick to the schedule and you'll set yourself up for a successful growing season. Next up, we'll talk about summer planting tips, so stay tuned. Summer is here, and with it comes the heat. But don't worry, your garden can still thrive if you choose the right crops. Focus on heat-tolerant plants like beans, cucumbers, and zucchini. These veggies love the sun and will keep producing all summer long. Just make sure to give them plenty of water, especially during those hot, dry spells. A good rule of thumb is to water deeply once or twice a week rather than a little every day. This encourages the roots to grow deeper, making your plants more resilient. Succession planting. Another great strategy for summer is succession planting. This means planting new crops as soon as you harvest the old ones. For example, once your spinach is done in early summer, you can plant beans in the same spot. This keeps your garden productive and maximizes your space. And here's a bonus: beans add nitrogen to the soil, which helps improve it for future crops. It's a win-win. Pest control. Now let's talk about pests. Summer is prime time for bugs like aphids, squash bugs, and cucumber beetles. But before you reach for harsh chemicals, try some natural solutions. For example, plant marigolds near your veggies. They repel pests and add a pop of color to your garden. You can also use insecticidal soap or neem oil for a more targeted approach. And don't forget to check your plants regularly. Catching pests early makes them much easier to manage. Summer recap and transition. So, to keep your summer garden thriving, focus on heat-tolerant crops, practice succession planting, and stay on top of pests. With these tips, you'll have a productive and healthy garden all season long. Up next, we'll dive into fall planting, so stick around. Think gardening season ends in summer? Think again. Zone 6. Gardeners can grow an amazing fall harvest. Here's how. Early fall crops. Let's start with early fall. This is the perfect time to plant cool weather crops like broccoli, kale, and Brussels sprouts. These veggies actually taste better after a light frost because the cold weather sweetens them. Aim to plant these about 6 to 8 weeks before your first expected frost date. For Zone 6A, that's usually around mid-October. And don't forget to keep the soil moist. Fall can be dry, so your plants will need regular watering to get established. Late fall planting. Next up is late fall, and this is when you should start thinking about next year's garden. Garlic and onions are perfect for planting in late fall. They'll stay dormant over the winter and start growing again in early spring. Plant them about 2 to 4 weeks before the ground freezes, and make sure to mulch heavily to protect them from the cold. Come spring, you'll have a head start on your harvest. Extending the season. Want to keep your garden going even longer? Use cold frames or row covers to protect your plants from frost. These simple tools can extend your growing season by several weeks, giving you more time to enjoy fresh produce. For example, you can keep growing lettuce, spinach, and other greens well into November with a little extra protection. Fall recap and transition. Plant cool weather crops in early fall, get a head start on next year with garlic and onions in late fall, and use cold frames or row covers to extend your season. Fall gardening is all about planning and preparation, but the rewards are worth it. Next, I'll share some pro tips for year-round success, so stay tuned. Pro tips for year-round success. Soil preparation. First things first, healthy soil is the foundation of a great garden. Test your soil at least once a year to check its pH and nutrient levels. Most veggies prefer a pH between 6.0 and 7.0. If your soil is too acidic, add lime. If it's too alkaline, add sulfur. And don't forget to enrich your soil with compost or organic matter. This improves drainage, adds nutrients, and keeps your plants happy. Tool maintenance. Next, take care of your tools. Clean and sharpen them regularly to make your gardening tasks easier and more efficient. Dirty or rusty tools can spread diseases, so give them a good scrub after each use. A little maintenance goes a long way in keeping your garden and your tools in top shape. Finally, keep a garden journal. Track what you plant, when you plant it, and how it performs. This helps you learn from your successes and mistakes, making it easier to plan for future seasons. Plus, it's a great way to stay organized and motivated. By focusing on soil health, maintaining your tools, and keeping good records, you'll set yourself up for year-round gardening success. Now, let's wrap things up with a quick recap. So, there you have it, the ultimate Zone 6 planting calendar. From spring to fall, we've covered the perfect timing for your biggest harvest ever. Remember, gardening is all about planning, patience, and a little bit of love. Stick to these tips, and you'll see amazing results. Now, it's your turn. Grab a notebook, plan your planting schedule, and get your hands dirty. Whether you're a beginner or a seasoned gardener, there's always something new to learn and grow. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit the like button, share it with your gardening friends, and subscribe for more tips. Let's grow together. Happy gardening!